In which offshore wind markets are you active at the moment? Where are your projects located?
Well, currently we are having operated offshore wind farms in Sweden, in Denmark, in the UK, and in Germany. In total capacity around 1,500 megawatts. We have been building wind farms since 2004 in offshore. And my project Arkona is the 10th big offshore wind farm that E.ON is responsible for constructing and operating.
As we want to focus today on what offshore wind farms and their establishment can do for the regional and local businesses in the area close by, I would like to know, is there a principal approach at E.ON to make sure that the local businesses are involved in these kind of investments? Is there anything written in a policy form, or is there a common understanding on how you work this part?
Well, there is no written policy, and I think we also have to always look at the specific circumstances of each project and each specific region or location. I can maybe report on Arkona, which as Jakob already said, is located between Rügen and Bornholm, and Rügen is very much, let's say, the base harbor area in the port of Mukran. And E.ON's approach is always that we want to be a kind of a long-term partner. So we usually come into the area that we want to use as a base port well in advance. We establish contacts with respective stakeholders. We also jointly help to develop certain infrastructure that is needed for a smooth kind of construction as well as operation. And that almost automatically involves then also regional and local businesses, because there's always aspects like what is the respective legislation, what is the respective kind of circumstances, where do you find the right people, and it's also about reacting quite fast.
Mm. So you're saying, now we're already into your project Arkona. You specifically mentioned the Mukran port on the island of Rügen. You told me earlier that you have been scanning the greater region for the right harbor well in advance of the project. What was the criteria? What were you looking at? At which radius did you check for possible establishment for your own purposes?
Well, we basically created a kind of a lessons learned matrix from our previous projects in regards to the harbor, and then we did define a certain radius for construction as well as operation, which might differ in terms of size. And within this radius, irrespectively in which country this is located, we then screened all the potential harbors through this lessons learned matrix, and then basically came up with a final ranking of what we believe are the most suitable harbors for construction as well as operation.
Mm-hmm. So you used Sassnitz Mukran for both for the construction as well as for the operational part.
Yeah. But that was a kind of an independent assessment first, and out of this independent assessment, both construction and operation resulted in Mukran port, and then obviously we combined this in order to find additional synergies, right? So, but this is not necessarily always the case. It could also well be that we have a different harbor for construction than for operation, because it's also different kind of conditions that are needed for those kind of activities.
Let's then look at it from both perspectives. What were the main criteria for the construction part, why you came to choose Sassnitz?
Well, for construction, I think one thing I still recall from all the previous projects, size matters. So you need to have a lot of space. Even if you believe that you basically have delivery just in time and you basically receive certain components and you immediately bring them into the field, you might suffer then certain delays either from the supply chain or later from certain weather situations, and that is why you have to have a lot of buffer space to store for an interim period respective components. And the other key element is that you have a very strong quayside. You see turbines are getting bigger and bigger, and that requires a very strong and adequate quayside where you can pre-assemble those turbines, and also the respective installation vessels have to come very close to the quayside, which again comes back to the special requirements on the quayside. So those are the two key aspects.
So the Sassnitz Harbour was able to compete, for example, and well, I don't know if your radius included the Danish harbours also. So
it did include
it was able
Danish
to
harbours. It did include Swedish harbours, and German harbours as well as I think one or two in Poland. So as I said, we look for the best potential setup, irrespectively of certain country borders, and that was the result.
Can you explain also for the operational part then?
Yeah, there it's obviously different, because there you're obviously quite depending on the closer the better in regards of bringing technicians for certain regular maintenance from the harbor and back. In our case, that was again Mukran, but other than that, it could be any other harbor. Here we had a specific situation that we were also offered having a very nice piece of land very close to the quayside where we could establish our operation and maintenance building. And there's also kind of a cluster approach where a neighboring wind farm also has the operations building, and that obviously leads to a lot of synergies and also attracted a lot of regional and local players that are now also building up their respective affiliates or even central headquarters in and around this area to basically provide further service for us as well as for the neighboring wind farm.
Do you have any examples of companies and their services?
Sure. So number one is an example of a charterer that provides CTV vessels, so crew transfer vessels, for bringing crew from shore into the field and back. So that is a regional organization from the city of Wismar in Mecklenburg, West Pomerania, so quite local people. And then we have also various other things, like for example, and it might sound a little bit nitty-gritty, but in fact it's still stable business, providing personal protection equipment. So if you work offshore, you need a special kind of a life suit, you need a helmet and things like that. And you can obviously buy those things, but then you have to still maintain it, you have to certify it on a daily basis, and here we have a partnership with a company that provides this and also makes sure that you always have the adequate equipment, and those businesses have been established in or around our operations building.